Hello and welcome to one of UNN's first Warhammer guides. My name is Ani and I will be your Warhammer guide for today. We're going to be covering one of the fundamental things to understand while playing Warhammer 40,000, and that's how to read a data slate. I'm going to try and keep this brief, and we will cover a more in-depth video on how to do abilities and what abilities are going to look good on units. And just for this video, we're going to cover core stats. Now, we can't talk core stats without first looking at the model's core abilities, and that is found right underneath their name. The first is M, and that will denote how far the unit can move within inches. So as you see 5 inches here, that means every model in this squad will be able to move up to 5 inches. T will determine the unit's toughness, and toughness is used when trying to determine whether a dice will successfully wound you or you're able to save it. And that is important to keeping your units alive. So you want a high toughness skill on some of your units. SV is your armor saving stat, and this is the stat that you would want to have low, as denoted here with a 2+. That means that if a ranged attack will hit you, or a melee attack for that matter, hit you, and it has no AP, as you can see here on the assault cannon line with the AP 0, that means on a dice roll of 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, your armor will save the attack and you will take no damage. Talking about damage, the next stat is W for wounds. This will determine how many wounds each model has within that unit. And so if we look at the picture beside here, this will mean each Terminator model will have 3 wounds that it can be allocated before that model needs to be removed from the board as being presumed slain. The next stat is LD. LD will stand for leadership, and this is used for leadership tests as well as determining battle shock. Battle shock is a condition that we will go over when we talk about the command phase in a later video. But leadership testing is a commonplace within Warhammer, and you want this ability to be low as you will roll 2d6 and your goal is to try and get above this. And so if we take the Terminator's leadership at 6+, on a dice roll of 2d6, we are aiming to get 6 or better combined across both of those dice. The last stat on their core line is called OC, and this will determine its objective control. Objective control is used when determining who is controlling an objective marker on the board. This is important for scoring primary missions, and we can cover how to score primary missions in a later date when we talk about the command phase. Now briefly, we're going to talk about an attack stat line as well in this video, and for this we're going to continue to use their assault cannon line. Now, beside its name, you'll see devastating wounds. That is a keyword ability given to that weapon, and we will talk about that later when we talk about keywords. But just know that that only applies for that weapon. The range is how far that weapon will be able to attack with, and that is also denoted in inches, just like your movement. So we see 24 inches here. That means that weapon can attack up to 24 inches away. The A stat will determine how many attacks that weapon will make. And so with an A stat of 6, you will roll 6 dice to determine your attacks. And talking about attacks, you want to know how do you hit? And this is where you come into the BS skill, known as ballistic skill for ranged weapons. And melee stats will use a similar skill called weapon skill instead of ballistic skill. You'll notice that the assault cannon has 3+. that means on a dice face of 3, 4, 5, or 6, that attack will hit. The next stat in the line is strength. And remember when I was talking about toughness and being able to hit and wound them? You're going to use the strength of a weapon versus the unit's toughness. We can go in more detail on how to wound in a how to make attacks video, but know that the higher the strength of the weapon, the easier it's going to wound that unit. Now, we said earlier that this weapon has no AP, and that is true, as it's called in AP 0. Certain weapons will have AP. This will affect that armor saving stat that we talked about earlier, and make it harder for the opponent to be able to save their models. So generally, a higher AP stat is favorable. Now the last stat in the line is D, and this will be used for damage. So every unsuccessful dice roll the opponent makes to try and save these attacks will result in 1 damage to their models. I hope that this has been informative, and if you wish to continue seeing content, please support us, and I hope you all have a great day.